Synonyms: aho, kashtam, what terrible sufferings. Aho, anyayam, what terrible injustice. Yat, because. Yuyam, all of you good souls. Dharmanandanaha, sons of religion personified. Jivitum, to remain alive. Na, never. Arhatha, deserve. Klishtam, suffering. Vipra, Brahmanas. Dharma, piety. Achyuta, God. Ashrayaha, being protected by. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Bhishmadev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God and religion." Translation with repetition: Bhishmadev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God and religion." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthira was disturbed due to the great massacre in the battle of Kurukshetra. Bhishmadev could understand this, and therefore he spoke first of the terrible sufferings of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was put into difficulty by injustice only, and the battle of Kurukshetra was fought just to counteract this injustice. Therefore he should not regret the great massacre. He wanted to point out particularly that they were always protected by the Brahmanas, the Lord, and religious principles. As long as they were protected by these three important items, there was no cause of disappointment. Thus Bhishmadev encouraged Maharaj Yudhishthira to dissipate his despondency. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, however trying the circumstances of life. Bhishmadev, as one of the authorities in the line, wanted to impress this point upon the Pandavas. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We have a very wonderful verse in front of us. Let's understand the verse and see how beautifully Prabhupada has explained so many important things in this verse. Aho kashtam aho anyayam yad yuyam dharmanandanaha jivitum narhata klishtam vipra dharma chutashraya. This is the first verse which is spoken by Bhishma. So far we have been seeing that the Pandavas are rich with their regal attire, nicely decorated chariots, Bhishmadev, who's lying on the bed of arrows in his last stage, was so happy. There is a historical document which I have seen, and it mentions Bhishmadev lived for 450 years. So probably this was his vision or sight that he always wanted to see. Yudhishthira Maharaj as the king and all the Pandavas in the royal dress. That is what is finally happening. They've all arrived there. Krishna is also present. So many other great sages are also there. And the first word which is coming out of Bhishmadev's mouth, Aho Kashtam, Aho Anyayam, Aho Kashtam, Aho alas, oh, what terrible injustices, what terrible sufferings. Kashtam is not just sufferings. Prabhupada has translated this as terrible sufferings. Aho Kashtam, Aho Anyayam, Yad Yuyam Dharmanandana. Kashtam, we have seen in previous chapter when Kunti Maharani was offering her prayers, she mentions about one verse, Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat. Vishan Mahagne. Vishan is Bhima who was poisoned. Mahagne, the Lakshagraha or the house of flax where it was put on fire. Vishan Mahagne. Purusha Ada. Ada means was a man-eater. Hidimba and Bakasura both can be classified as man-eaters. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshana. Asat Sabhaya Banavasa Krakshata. Asat Sabhaya. Draupadi being disrobed in that inglorious assembly of the Gurus. Asat Sabhaya Banavasa Krakshata. And when they were in forest and exile, there were so many difficulties. Mridhe Mridhe Neka Maharatha Astrato. And in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Mridhe Mridhe Neka. Time and again there were so many big warriors, so many big fighters decorated with the weapons who were trying to kill the Pandavas. Drauni Astratas Chasma Hare Virakshita. They were always protected by Krishna, including the time when Drauni, the son of Dronacharya, released this Brahmastra to kill the last heir, the last successor of Pandava's dynasty, the child in the womb of Uttara, which is Parikshit. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshana Asat Savaya Vanavasa Krikshata Mridhe Mridhe Neka Maharathastrato Droni Astratas Jasma Hare Virakshita. How Kashtam, how much of terrible sufferings you have all gone through. Aho Anyayam, how many injustices you have to see. Yad Yuyam Dharmanandana. Just because you were there as the sons of religion personified, Dharma Nandana, Nandana is sons, Dharma Nandana, sons of Dharma, religion personified. Yad Yuyam, you were all good souls, and you were all religion personified, but you have to still go through this. Jividum narhata klashtam, such terrible sufferings you are not supposed to go through, and you are not supposed to stay alive. Narhata, arhata means you don't deserve. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita time and again says, Arjuna, na sochitum arhasi. You don't deserve to go through this lamentation. Don't lament about these things. Asocyananva sochastam pragyavadamscha vasase gadasu nagatasumscha nanu sochanti pandita. You are lamenting for things which is not worthy of lamentation. This body is going to perish one day or other. So arhati is a very strong word. Jivitum narhata klashtam. I had mentioned this in Kunti Maharani's prayers, where Kunti Maharani prays. Janmeshwarya Shuta Shribhir Edamana Madah Pumar Naivahati Avidhatum Vai Tvam Kinchana Gochara. Janma Aishwarya Shuta Shribhir. These four things, if somebody is trying to accelerate, somebody is trying to improve, somebody is trying to increase and enhance. Janma Aishwarya Shuta Shribhir Edamana Madah Pumar. This leads to pride. Edamana Madah Pumar. Naivarti avidhatum vai vama kinchana gocharam. You will not be able to call out feelingly the Lord. Naivarti arhati. You don't deserve to call out the Lord because you've got this pride. Naivarti avidhatum vai vama kinchana gocharam. So, we tell that chanting Hare Krishna can eradicate all sins. It's a truth, it's a fact, definitely it can. But if we really want to attain Krishna Prem in the Vaikuntha Loka, in the spiritual abode, we have to call out the Lord feelingly. There is a quality to the chanting which is there. Just somehow finishing is not enough. To call out the Lord feelingly, and that is possible if we reduce this Janma Ishwarya Shruta Shruta. Anyway, Jivitum Narhata, Arhata is referring to that deserving. Jivitum Narhata Klishtam. You na Jivitum. You are not supposed to remain alive in this kind of terrible situation. But you could only survive because of Vipra Dharma Achyutashraya. Three things which I have mentioned here. Very powerful. Vipra Dharma Achyutashraya. Vipra is Brahmana or Vaishnavas. Dharma is religious principles. Achyuta is the Supreme Lord. Infallible. Because you took shelter of these three things, you could survive. Vipra Dharma Achyutashraya. Translation is Bhismadev said, though it is not mentioned anywhere, Bhisma Vacha or anything, but this is the first verse which Bhismadev is speaking. Aho Kashtam, Aho Nyayam. Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices. You good souls suffer, yet you young. For being the sons of religion personified, Dharma Nandana, Jivitum Narhata Krishna. You did not deserve to remain alive. Jivitum Narhata. Alive under those tribulations, Klishta. Yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God and religion. Vipra Dharma Achyutashraya. And probably one of the best purports of Prabhupada, it's unfair to say like that, but very, very powerful. Because it summarizes our material life very nicely. Material life is always characterized by injustices and sufferings. Is there anybody who can say that I've never had any injustice in my life? Everything was fair in my life. Whatever I wanted to achieve, I achieved. There was no cheating done by anyone to me. I was always getting all the respect and all the prestige that I wanted. I could achieve everything. We all feel somewhere or other there are injustices which are done to us. And we all experience terrible sufferings. Terrible sufferings. Oh, Kashtam, oh, Nyayam. So what is the solution? If Bhagavatam just leaves us with the problems, probably it's of no use. But Bhagavatam gives the solution, which is so powerful. There are these three sentences, or maybe two sentences, which Prabhupada mentions in the purport, which is worth remembering. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, however trying the circumstances of life. And I would like all of you to repeat this. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, however trying the circumstances of life. This actually summarizes a very, very important point in life. Many of us, we are put into this trying circumstances of life or the life of despondency for various reasons. We don't analyze why we are going through these difficult situations, why this life becomes so unpleasant. The answer is given here. Because we are not fully in line with the wish of the Lord. We don't want to accept the wish of the Lord in our lives. We want to rebel against that. Lord has an arrangement and nobody can understand what is exactly Lord's plan. Of course, the pure devotees know the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the mission of the Lord is same as the mission of a pure devotee. And if you want to explain, if you want to understand the mind of the Lord, you have to understand the mind of your spiritual master. So as long as a person as long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord. This verse also comes in Bhagavad Gita in the Chaturshloki, where Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktana bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mahopayantite. Tesham satata yuktana bhajatam priti purvakam. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, if there is a situation which is created for us, where something that I wanted is not happening, I have to accept it. It's after all the wish of the Lord. Why should I go against it and try to make some arrangements, adjustments, and something which is against the wish of the Lord? And accept it. Maybe I have to go back, I have to change my profession, I have to do something which may not be what I wanted. If this is the wish of the Lord, let me align myself. Then, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. This is one of the crucial points in life where we don't take guidance. We want to become independent. We think we are in control of our life. I'll take independent decisions. The moment you take independent decisions, you are always under despondency. So, not just cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, but one has to get practical guidance. I have to share. I can't. This life is it's a mess. It's a messy life. Very complicated. I seek guidance. Let me seek guidance. The moment I obey, the moment I follow, life is smooth. Nobody can touch it. It's a fact, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Pandavas throughout their lives have never done something independently, always respecting the seniors. If you see the mentality of Duryodhana and Yudhishthira, huge difference. The second or third verse of Bhagavad Gita, where it is mentioned, Pashyetam Pandaputrana Acharyam Mahatim Jama. What is that? Drudam? एक है पश्येतां पांडुपुत्राणां आचार्यं महतीं जमु व्यूढं द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येन धीमता. So see the diplomatic behavior of Duryodhana when he is speaking to his guru. Pashyetam Panduputrana Acharyam Mahati Jamu. Look at this phalanx, military phalanx. Third line is what? Vyudham Drupada Tava Sishyena Dhimata. So he didn't name what is his name? Drashtadyumna. He's saying Tava Sishyena Dhimata. Very diplomatic and cunning way, in a very disrespecting way. Actually, in the later verses of Bhagavatam, it is mentioned when somebody loses respect for Brahmanas and Vaishnavas and disobeys, talks in a rude or in a displeasing manner, he loses all his good piety. Everything is gone. Everything. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, obedience has so much of protection, power, we don't know that. The moment we do independently, we are always despondent. You can see, even in a devotee's life, the moment he is taking independent decision, not consulting, not trying to follow the senior Vaishnavas or the Brahmanas, life is miserable, always in anxiety, always in tension. And strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, however trying the circumstances of life. We will take examples of each one of this and see this. There is a very beautiful address which is given by Srila Prabhupada in Paris on August 11, 1975. And Prabhupada was talking about self-realization. So he says this self-realization means as soon as we understand that you or I am not this body, I am spirit soul, then immediately we become jolly. And what is jolliness? Na sochati na kamshati. Actually Prabhupada was quoting this verse from Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kamshati. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labhate para. Brahma bhuta prasannatma. What does self-realization mean? And Prabhupada is saying the moment I understand that I am spirit soul, I am not this body, immediately we become jolly, prasannatma. And what is jolliness? Na sojati na kansati. A jolly person never laments nor desires. That is Krishna consciousness. He has no want and he has no loss. Material life means always want and always loss. And spiritual life means no loss, no desire, no hankering. See, this is just 3-4 lines. But Prabhupada has used the word prasannatma and has translated it as jolly. The moment a person is in Krishna consciousness, there is no hankering. There is no loss. If there is a loss, if there is a kind of hankering, it is material concept of life. Material life means always want and always loss. And spiritual life means no loss, no desire, no hankering. Actually, there is a conversation where Prabhupada mentions, again quotes the same verse, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma Nasojati Nakansati. And he says that how in this material world we are looking for permanent recognition. I'm not finding exactly where it is. We are looking for permanent recognition in a temporary place from temporary people, knowing very well that our body is also temporary. We are looking for permanent recognition from temporary in this temporary world, from temporary people, knowing that our body is also temporary. It will come to an end. And because of that, we are always morose. We are always sad. Nobody is giving us permanent recognition. Nobody is acknowledging that. Sometimes you may get, you may not get. The idea of engaging in devotional service is not to look for some recognition. That's not the whole idea, not the whole goal. Actually, Krishna, as the Paramatma in our heart, knows every single thing that is going on in our heart. Why we are engaging in devotional service? What are we looking after doing that devotional service? So this permanent recognition from this temporary world, from temporary people, when our body is temporary, makes us morose, makes us sad. So when some people come and interact with us, instead of giving them happiness, instead of making them jolly, we share our moroseness, we share our sadness. It's a very powerful conversation that Prabhupada has this. But you look at this example of Bhismadev, he starts with Aho Kashtam, Aho Anyayam. Actually, he himself is going through all terrible sufferings. He's lying there in the bed of arrows. He had all kinds of injustices. He didn't get married because of the happiness of his father. He had to remain brahmachari. He had to serve these people whom he didn't want to. He never liked them. But he had to do all these things. He's going through. But he's not telling, oh my God, my life, how bad it is, how much of terrible these things I have gone through. First thing he's telling is, Aho Kashtam, Aho Anyayam. This is the compassion a devotee develops. He doesn't see his own pain. He doesn't see what he's going through. He rather feels compassionate. He feels the pain of the other person. It's a very nice example which comes in Bhagavatam in little later chapter where you can see that Parikshit, when he was going around the kingdom of his one fine day, he saw that there is Kali personified who was carrying a sword in his hand, and there was this bull whose 3 legs had been cut, and there was a weak cow who was also standing there. That's Mother Earth. Mother Earth and Dharma personified in the form of bull were having a conversation. Exactly the same principle. You see how Bhagavatam is so consistent and how the principles of Bhagavatam are not just supposed to be heard and forgotten. It has to be applied in our life. Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. Krishna is telling us how, if you want to enter into Vaikuntha Loka, you have to get rid of all your anarthas. And one of them is this. Because of our enviousness, because of our pride, because of our false ego, our problem always becomes the most important. Our sadness, our moroseness becomes the most, the maximum in the whole world. If anybody else, before even he could open his mouth, here my this thing, how much of suffering I am going through, how much of sacrifice I have made, what I have done. We start with that. You see this is a conversation. Dharani Uvacha. Dharani is Mother Earth. So she is telling, Bhavan hi veda tat sarvam yad mam dharman pritchasi chaturbhir vartase yena pade loka sukha bhai. The earthly deity in the form of a cow thus replied to the personality of religious principles in the form of a bull. O Dharma, whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to reply all those questions. Once you too were maintained by your four legs and you increased happiness all over the universe by the mercy of the Lord. The question which is asked by bull, I have not gotten that here. The question he is asking is, oh, you are looking so weak. Despite the fact that the bull has lost his 3 legs and just standing on 1 leg, he is not saying, oh, how terrible suffering, I am not able to even stand, I am just lying here. He is not saying that. He is asking Mother Earth, why are you looking so weak? Why are you feeling so sad? What is going on? And what is the response which cow is giving in the form of earthly deity? That, that, O Dharma, whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to reply to all those questions. Once you too were maintained by your 4 legs and you increased happiness all over the universe by the mercy of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada has very nicely translated that previously when Dharma bull had 4 legs, he had increased happiness by the mercy of the Lord. Many times we blame people around us, circumstance, time, place, etc. for our despondency. But Prabhupada is very nicely saying here, happiness in the world depends proportionately on the maintenance of the religious principles, individually or collectively. The best part of valor is to maintain the principles despite all kinds of odds. Thus one can be happy during the span of life and ultimately return to God. Very powerful thing. Never ever compromise your religious principles, no matter how tempting and provoking the situation may be. Never. Maybe people around us are not doing, somebody is not doing, somebody else is violating the religious principles. Don't do it. Happiness in the world depends proportionately on the maintenance of the religious principles. Dharma, Artha, Dharma, Vipra Dharma, Achyutashraya. So this is the second one, Dharma, Vipra Dharma, Achyutashraya. Happiness in the world depends proportionately on the maintenance of the religious principles, individually or collectively. Even if the whole world is slack, even if they are not doing, don't get discouraged. The best part of valor is to maintain the principles despite all kinds of odds. There will be challenges, there will be distractions, there will be provocation, there will be some temptation where you feel like if I violate these religious principles, I will be happy. Never do that. One can be happy during the span of life and ultimately return to God. So this is lesson 1. It doesn't matter if others follow or don't follow religious principles, but we should not give it up and try to follow it to the best of our ability. Sometimes we might be put in so much difficulty that we might be tempted or provoked to break the religious principles. But even under such situations, if we still hold on Dharma and take shelter of Guru and Krishna, then that is the greatest act of courage, as well as the only way to be jolly now and forever. This is a fact. The moment we violate religious principles, any of the religious principles, it may give us temporary happiness. It may give us some kind of immediate gratification at that point in time. It may look like I am doing nice, but ultimately it will become a cause of misery. Never ever violate the religious principles. That's the whole Pandava's life exemplify that. Never violate it. Next we will, again, so the same thing I am coming back, and I don't want you to miss this. It's a very important line. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, cooperation with the wishes of the Lord. Cooperate. That's what is our position. Guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas and strictly following the religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, however trying the circumstances of life. Second, this is a verse which comes in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Tasmin prasanne sakala sisan prabho kim durlabham tabhir alam labhatmam hi ananya drashya bhajatam grihasaya swayam vidhatte swagatim parapara. What is the translation? See, the translation is so powerful. This is the 3rd canto, 13th chapter, some verse. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. Nothing remains unachieved. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by the Lord Himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. Very powerful verse and very beautiful purport. See, nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. If the Lord is pleased with you, if you may have, you may be a poor person, you may be a rich person, you may be ugly, you may have physically some issues, handicap, whatever it is. But by your attitude, by your devotion, if you can please the Lord, nothing remains unachieved. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by the Lord Himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. There are 3 words which I want you to pay attention. Very interesting words. The first one is prasanne, being pleased. Who is pleased? The Lord is pleased. If the Lord is pleased, what happens? Nothing remains unachieved. The phrase nothing remains unachieved is backed up only when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. You want to achieve something in this world, materially, spiritually, whatever it is, nothing remains unachieved. Backed by what? If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. The entire essence in this verse is to please the Lord, and when we become true devotees, then everything else becomes insignificant. We have our family, we have our this thing, I could not achieve this, I couldn't do this, I couldn't go there, I couldn't prove in the eyes of others that I was so powerful, so insignificant, nothing matters. Nothing matters, because the Lord sees the heart, whether I have developed that pure devotion. And if I have done that, the Lord becomes pleased, everything else becomes insignificant. If the Lord is pleased, then everything else becomes easy. As Srila Prabhupada mentions very nicely in purport to verse 331:18, by the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything, underlined, bold, capital, is possible. Like the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything is possible. Then the next word that I want to highlight in this verse is Lava Atmabhi. Lava Atmabhi is insignificant gains. Once the Lord is pleased, everything becomes insignificant. Being rich, poor, dark, white, ugly, beautiful, etc. Everything else is insignificant. Doesn't matter. These are all insignificant gains. All difficult situations in life becoming insignificant to us when we follow the Lord's footsteps. Even crossing this ocean of birth and death becomes easy when the Lord is pleased. It's Brahma's prayer when he says, Samashvitaye padapallavaplavam mahat padam punyaya shomara. Bhavam budhir vatsa padam vipadarnatesha. Even this insurmountable duratyaya, difficult to cross over material ocean, swings to the water that can be contained in a calf's footprint. All difficult situations in life becoming insignificant, no matter how challenges are coming, obstacles are there. Family is not supportive, financial condition is not supportive. Emotionally I am not good. Health-wise I am not good. Nothing. All becomes insignificant and the Lord becomes pleased. The Lord is pleased, everything becomes insignificant. Even crossing the ocean of birth and death becomes easy when the Lord is pleased. The biggest question is, how to please? How to please the Lord? And that is there in the verse. It says, Ananya Drishte. Ananya Drishte. Nothing but devotional service. The quantity of service that we do not please the Lord. The quality alone pleases the Lord. This is the key. This is the most important part that we need to understand. That the quantity of service doesn't please the Lord, but the quality. Actually, Prabhupada explains this very beautifully. Just 1 minute. Prabhupada says this, he quotes this verse in one of the lectures, and there's 2-3 lines that Prabhupada is mentioning. Everyone is running behind something except sincere devotional service. Everyone is running. Something or other they want to achieve, prove. They are running. Except sincere devotional service. We don't know where to run, how to run, but we want to run. The worst mistake we commit is we don't run to Krishna, but we run all other fancy materialistic things. See this again. We don't know where to run, how to run, but we want to run. We don't know where to run. How to run, we don't know. We don't know, but we want to run. And the worst mistake we commit is we don't run to Krishna, but we run to all other fancy materialistic things. Most of that, something would be so insignificant, but our mind would not allow us to rest in peace until we achieve that insignificant material. How many of us we feel bad when we miss our Mangalarati? I missed. What is the big deal? How many of us we feel bad when we miss chanting our 16 rounds of Hare Krishna? I was talking to somebody yesterday, Mataji. Said in festival times I can't chant. Who gave you the authority not to chant in a festival time? Who gave you that? I don't feel anything, there is nothing wrong. I couldn't just chant 16 rounds yesterday I was very busy, so many activities. I don't feel anything bad if I'm missing my Mangalarati. But if some material gain, मेरे को promotion चाहिए था भगवान नहीं मिला, immediately I feel bad. And crip, that person told me, that person spoke to me like this, we go on cripping, crip. I didn't get that. How can he speak to me like this? But we don't see that when we are missing our Mangalaratis or we are missing our 16 rounds, we don't feel bad. This is what is required. And Prabhupada uses one word from one of the verses of Bhagavatam. It says, Vivikta Adhyatma Darshana, means the Lord who can see without doubt our minds. He can see without doubt what is going on in the mind. So never ever miss your devotional service to the Lord. This idea of running behind something else without the Lord is the biggest mistake. If someone is in distress and wants to get relief from anybody, from his friend or somebody who goes and speaks and asks for some advice, solicits some advice, the friend may not understand. But the Lord, this word, Vivikta Adhyatma Darshana, He without doubt sees what's going on in a person's mind. He can solve. But instead of him, we run to everybody else. That's why that verse of Bhagavad Gita says, Tesham Satadayuktana Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yugantam Yena Mam Upayanti. Tesham Satadayuktana Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. Who is engaging in devotional service, loving devotional service to me. Dadami Buddhi Yugantam. I give that intelligence and you can come back to me. So this is the third one. This is the second one. We spoke about Dharma, we spoke about Achyuta. And the first one is Vipra. And there is one mention of, again, the same purport. This is in connection with Bali Maharaj and the demigods. And there was this battle, and Bali Maharaj became very powerful and he drove away the demigods. When Bali Maharaj's army conquered over the heavenly planets and the demigods leave the heavenly planets, Mother Aditi was very much afflicted by the separation from her sons. Seeing her condition, Kashyapa Muni advised her to please Vasudeva by performing Payovrata. Pleased by her sincere worship, the Supreme Lord appeared before her. After hearing her heartfelt prayers, the Supreme Lord says in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Prayodhana te surayatharanatha aparayana iti devi mematihi yatte anukuleshvara vipragupta na vikramas tatra sukham dadati. O Mother of the demigods, in my opinion, almost all the chiefs of the demons are now unconquerable, for they are being protected by Brahmanas, whom the Supreme Lord always favors. Thus the use of power against them now will not at all be a source of happiness. Srila Prabhupada translates the word Anukuleshvara Vipragupta as protected by Brahmanas, by whose favor the Supreme Controller is always present. It's the most important thing. If somebody is favored by the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas' blessings have a very powerful impact on our lives. But often we don't take advantage of it. We think we will do things independently. I don't need any advice. Prabhupada has created this system. It's a system which is meant for our protection. The moment we do things on our own, we are playing with the laws of material nature. And there is no protection. As Prabhupada mentions, the first principle of devotional life is obedience. There is a rasa in being disobedient. There is a rasa in being independent. There is a big rasa. Because material world, we are all independent. That is why we are here. We have accepted this body and we are struggling and suffering. We all want to become Krishna. The moment you become a servant, the moment you become a servant of Krishna and a Vaishnava, you are actually on the, what do you call that sniper's this thing? Crosshair? The crosshair of Maya is on us. Maya is very closely, minutely looking at us. Oh, this person is now becoming dependent. He is now obedient to a pure devotee. I should distract him. How Maya will distract us? By making us independent. By making us feel that I can do things on my own. I don't need anybody's advice. What this advice? What is the use? I'll do things on my own. And the consequences. You see, the demons, now they are being protected by Brahmanas, whom the Supreme Lord always favors. So they are unconquerable now. This means you can't touch it in them. Vipra dharma achyuta shraya. Vipra dharma achyuta shraya. Very powerful. Actually, Bhagavatam is so alive. If we really, take the shelter of Bhagavatam, it has got everything. There is no chance of being despondent, even in the most trying circumstances. If we are not violating the religious principles, if we are always taking shelter of Achyuta, and if we are always taking shelter of the Vaishnavas, Vipras and Brahmanas. These are some of the important points. Actually, this whole section of Srimad Bhagavatam now that Bhishma Devi is going to speak are all jewels. Are amazing. Even one full stop, one comma, one word which Prabhupada has used is very powerful. Only thing is we lack how to identify those jewels. We don't have that purity, or we don't have that mercy of the Lord for this message to get revealed in our hearts. But if you pay close attention and pray sincerely, I want to understand this. What Bhishma Dev is telling, the time of his departure, how he is exhibiting some of these things. First thing he is telling is Aho Kashta Maho Nyayam. Not talking about his own sufferings and miseries. Same holds true even for Prahlad when he is going through all the tortures of his father. Never ever mentioned that so much of suffering I am having. And he has got so much of respect for his father. Every time he speaks to him, he says Asura Varya, he pays obeisances. With all great respect he is talking. These are all the ways and means by which one can receive the blessings. And once this blessing is received, everything is possible. That's what the verse says in the previous word that we saw. By the mercy of the Lord, everything is possible. So if somebody doesn't violate religious principles, no matter how trying the circumstances are, somebody who is not living the shelter of Achyuta, no matter how much of temptations and provocations are there, somebody who is not leaving the shelter of Vaishnava association and taking guidance, opening the heart, asking, this is the anartha I am having, what should I do, how should I go? Nothing wrong. You tell that, you ask, you are protected, 100% under protection. When do you think I'll do my own, I'll figure it out? That's where Maya captures the crosshair of Maya. The sniper is keeping that thing, we don't see that sniper, but the sniper is shooting just that, that circle with this thing, will be the target and will be gone. Let's stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. No questions, no comments, we'll stop here. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Yadai Gaur Brahmanas.